why does the hate dissolve? Because hate is the epitome, that's the right word, of seeking. Hate is seeking. When Roger used to say that to me, it really hurt, and I really disliked it. But he was very clear and very strong on that, and I really understand that now. The hate is seeking, but hate is love is the absolute acceptance of everything, not as a human activity, but as beingness. And hate is the rejection. You know, hate turns into, I hate you because you've done something. You know, you were responsible, but nobody was responsible for any action. And that's different from anger. Anger is frustration. It's like, ugh, and it's a natural human response, whereas the hatred is an elongated story through false beliefs. You know, anger is something that's coming now, whereas hate is like a deep, deep separation. Like, to say, you know, say if you hated someone because they shamed you and they were really rude to you or they were abusive to you. Like, some people don't even hate for that reason. Some people just hate because of difference. Like, what I notice, having lived in lots of different countries, like sometimes when you don't speak the native language, people just hate you just because what I think happens is they feel shame sometimes because maybe they feel ashamed that they can't speak English well. I know that sounds really arrogant from an English person, but it's just because I think that when English isn't your first language, there is an emphasis that it's your responsibility to speak English in order to be able to communicate with other countries. I'm not saying this is the right way, but it's just that English got adapted to the international language. And sometimes there can be shame around that. So if you don't speak English well, so just sometimes as an English speaker, sometimes people just dislike you because you're evoking shame in them, I've noticed. And then sometimes people dislike you because they're afraid of difference and you're representing difference, and they're afraid of not fitting in with their community, being alone, of things changing, of not having common beliefs, you know, not having a common way of being. Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, so it's like our beliefs are better, and it's so this form of hatred is you know, it's because it evokes seeking in the other person. So say for the feeling ashamed because they can't speak English really well, that they, rather than just the acceptance of the embarrassment of the moment, there is all these stories about why should we speak English? Why did English have to be the native language? Or English people are so lazy, or English people are so up themselves, or English people are so overly privileged, or whatever it is. And it turns into a hatred. It's like a rejection of that initial embarrassment or shame or that initial feeling. And then it turns into a mental seeking of themselves and of the other. Rather than just an acceptance of that vulnerability, that there's embarrassment or there's shyness. Yeah. So it's like a going into a mental illusion, and it can get so big. You know, most people that I meet, you know, when I'm in different countries are so super friendly. It's just the occasional one or two, and maybe you've seen it before, that this happens. And it's such an interesting thing. You know, it's really interesting. You know how these, different communities meet and the effects. And I just imagine if if you come from, if you're a refugee or something from somewhere that's been in war, then the hatred goes back the other way, because they feel so traumatized and just all these different things, and the hatred grows from them, onto that new community, and all stories start building, and that's how hatred grows. So it's just being able to accept, like I can feel, so Roger would say that all shame goes, but I can feel shame, but he might not call that shame what I'm feeling. He might call that a different thing. So I feel like what goes is the attachment to it, but I can feel embarrassed. Yeah, like I'm really bad at learning foreign languages, and in that situation, I can feel embarrassed. And then I can also feel, the teachers at school shaming me for, not being able to do certain things. But I can just feel that in the moment when I'm standing talking to them, rather than acting out a whole drama with them. There's just the heart chakra hurts. And if I go into it, I can hear the old teachers, like, in the 80s, what they used to do is they used to make me go and stand in the corner, so everyone else was allowed to play or work, and I had to go and stand in the corner because I couldn't complete the work like other kids could. And there is, I can maybe feel that, but I don't have to act out a story with people. I mean, maybe sometimes a story gets acted out, but most of the time there's just the ability to hold that. And that's not seeking, that's human. That's humanness. And sometimes in me, there can be old seeking patterns. I'm not trying to deny that, but this is what being really human is on the human level. Like when you begin to realize you're not the person and you're not the seeker, that who you are is emptiness, and there's the ability to hold all these complex feelings. And sometimes, I get into complex conversations and dynamics with people, but now there's such an ability to hold my human stuff, to really see these things and not seek to avoid it. You understand what I mean? It's hard to explain these things because that's not who I am. I don't have to, let's protect that, protect this person that believes that it's alive and it's really real and everything is super important. Who we are is emptiness. And the person comes and goes, and Lisa does funky things, and she's not always appropriate. It's like total forgiveness of the Lisa as well as the other person.